Let's have a real conversation about the hypocrisy currently suffocating our national discourse, because the cognitive dissonance required to wear a cross while worshiping a political icon is nothing short of breathtaking. You stand there with performative piety, claiming you believe in Jesus, yet you simultaneously champion Donald Trump and every shred of his chaotic, divisive rhetoric as if it were gospel. It is a spectacle of epic proportions that you have stooped low enough to actively mock the very foundations of your supposed faith by declaring that a man defined by ego, greed, and scorched earth politics was hand-delivered to this nation by the divine to act as a savior. Let us be crystal clear for those who seem to have misplaced their reading glasses. Where, in any authentic interpretation of the teachings of Jesus, do you find a mandate for hate, systemic racism, or the targeted dehumanization of the vulnerable? Search the text from cover to cover, and you will find absolutely zero justification for the vitriolic attacks launched against immigrants who are simply seeking safety, women asserting their autonomy, children caught in the crossfire of policy cruelty, the impoverished struggling to survive. Our elders cast aside those living with disabilities, or the LGBTQ+ community trying to exist in peace. It is not just ironic. It is completely comical that you wrap yourself in the mantle of a savior who preached radical love, humility, and service to the marginalized while aggressively promoting a figurehead who thrives on antagonism, exclusion, and the worship of his own image. You are engaging in a dangerous game of semantics where you have redefined virtue to mean absolute partisan loyalty, effectively stripping the word Christian of any actual moral weight. When you assert that your political leader is God-sent, you are not elevating your politics. You are dragging your supposed spirituality into the mud to serve a secular master who mirrors none of the character traits historically attributed to the Nazarene. Let us drop the pretense and call this what it actually is: political idolatry masquerading as devotion. You do not believe in the Jesus of history, the man who spent his time among the outcasts and the poor, because the path you are currently walking is fundamentally incompatible with the principles of compassion and universal equality. If you are honest with yourself, which is a tall order in this climate, you would admit that the figure you are defending represents the antithesis of the teachings you claim to uphold. Jesus was not a tribalist. He did not build walls to keep out the suffering, and he certainly did not demand total submission from his followers to satisfy his own vanity. To equate a modern political savior with the divine is to admit that you have abandoned the actual message of the Gospels in favor of a comfortable, exclusionary echo chamber that validates your biases rather than challenging your conscience. The reality is that you are choosing a narrative of power and control over a narrative of grace and justice. You are free to support whoever you choose in the voting booth, but do not insult our intelligence by draping your political grievances in the sanctity of a religion that explicitly rejects the values you are currently championing. When you look at the evidence, the insults, the dehumanization, the obsession with wealth and status, and then look at the historical record of the person you claim to follow, the disconnect is glaringly obvious. Jesus is not a placeholder for your political agenda, and he is certainly not the embodiment of the darkness, greed, and divisiveness that defines the bullcrap you spend your time defending. You can have your politics, or you can have your principles, but you cannot realistically claim both when they are standing on opposite sides of a moral chasm. It is time to stop pretending that this alignment makes sense, because it is an insult to logic, an affront to historical truth, and a total bastardization of the values you claim to hold dear. Wake up and recognize that you are worshiping a golden calf of your own making, because Jesus is not Lucifer, and the rhetoric you are peddling is leading you as far away from genuine morality as humanly possible. Stop using a peaceful teacher as a shield for your political hostility, and own the fact that your priorities have shifted away from the spiritual toward the strictly partisan. The hypocrisy is not just visible. It is the loudest thing in the room, and until you address the chasm between your actions and your words, your claims of faith will continue to ring hollow to anyone paying actual attention. Please feel free to follow, subscribe, comment, like, and share. This helps you to stay connected to me, and it helps me to remain here creating more content for you. Thank you, love. Always, Maria DC Santiago.